Jesus.
Amen.
My hero, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, was born into an elite family. He earned his PhD with highest honors from one of the best universities in the world by the age of 21. His father was the leading psychiatrist in Germany. His mother's father was the emperor's court preacher. For centuries, his ancestors had been scholars, statesmen, artists, theologians, leaders in society. And then came the Nazis. In a few short years, he was banned from all public speaking and writing. He tried to open a school and the police shut it down. He joined a conspiracy against Hitler's wildly popular regime and was arrested, then hung. Everything he put his hand to seemed to fail. But what shocked and in some ways delighted him was how very different the world looks when it's seen not from the place of privilege, but as he put it, from below, from the perspective of the outcasts, suspects, maltreated, powerless, oppressed, and reviled. The world is a very different place from down there. And some of you know how this feels because you've been there. You've gone from being well off to having to fight to make ends meet. You've gone from being an insider to being an outsider, maybe when you disagreed with the wrong people. You've gone from being healthy to being very ill. Maybe you've had black friends who tell you some of the things that have happened to them, and it's hard for you to believe it because you can't imagine anything like that happening to you. It seems that even if we live in the same place with other people, we live in very different worlds. Today, Jesus is talking to those who view the world from below. The poor in spirit, the mourners, the meek, those who are hungry and thirsty for justice. He does not promise that the view from below will make them happy, or successful, or strong, but he does promise that they will experience the rule of God there. They will be comforted and satisfied. They and God will find each other there at the underside of life, and life can offer us nothing better than that. But why is this? Why is God particularly visible from the underside of life? Well, let's figure this out by pondering the things he says. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. Blessed are those who take in the wisdom that the poor have to learn the hard way. The poor learn that you cannot survive all on your own. You have to depend on each other. There's a famous story about Mother Teresa's nuns in India. They heard that a certain family had not eaten for 3 days. When the nuns brought them a bag of rice, the mother opened it and immediately started scooping some out into a bowl. And she explained, they're hungry next door also. Studies show that the poor give away a higher percentage of their income than those who can better afford it, and that's how they survive. The one who has shares with the rest. This grows from a conviction that all good things come from a generous God, and that all life is precious in his sight, including my neighbors, and that we honor God by imitating God's generosity. The kingdom says that we all belong to each other. We are responsible to and for each other. The kingdom of God is that all people will have a place at the table, and we strive for a world where everybody can flourish. A world where even the blind and the lame and the crippled and the demon-possessed are healed as Jesus healed them, so that they can enjoy a place of dignity and make their contribution to our life together. The world, though, is not sure about this. The world would like to teach us the lie that we must all be in competition with each other all the time. It's dog eat dog, winner take all. We should be incessantly amassing trophies, and losers deserve to suffer because they're losers. We can only depend on ourselves. What's mine is mine, period. And that's how life should be. This is a formula for how societies destroy themselves. Let's look at another. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Now, mourning is just flat out miserable, as so many of you know all too well. But there is at least a fundamental honesty about mourning. Mourners come to grips with the fact that when you live and love, you will, somewhere along the line, also lose. But some folks don't want to mourn. They refuse to. And so they fall for stupid tricks that promise that you can avoid all loss and death. If you do the right things, it won't happen to you. Or when they lose someone or something dear to them, they try to drown the pain with drugs or drink. Or instead of mourning, they plan revenge on whoever they blame for it. But God knows we're going to mourn. And when we do honestly and trustingly, God will meet us in the depth of that miserable suffering and guide us through to a new life. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Here again, our world goes ballistic and says, no, no, blessed are the aggressive, who can take what they want. Blessed are the arrogant, who can make out a case that they deserve so much more than the rest. Blessed are the clever, who can figure out a semi-legal way to defraud the meek and make out like it's the meek's fault. The meek, in fact, are likely to get their lunch money stolen and be thrown down the stairs. So how do we respond to this? Well, a friend gave me an insight this week. He knows a Palestinian pastor, and this man reminds us that Jesus spoke Aramaic, a language kind of like Hebrew. In Aramaic, the word blessed does not have a passive feel to it, as if we're lying around waiting for God to drop grapes into our mouths. In Aramaic, the word is more active. It conveys more the feeling that, yes, we can rise up, act, and move toward blessing. And that rings true because God has given us hope. And where we have hope, we never give up. We wait, yes, we watch, and then we push, because God designed a world that is supposed to work for everybody. Ruthless schemes will fail in the long run because evil is always self-destructive, and God is relentless, and we never give up. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Now, some people try to ignore this hunger. Maybe they try to make out that everything happens in the world the way it's supposed to happen, which is nonsense. Or they say that the world is a mess and that's okay. Everybody does it, just do what you need to do to get by, which is kind of sick and cynical. But when you feel hungry and thirsty for justice, what you're saying is that there really is justice. We just haven't gotten it yet. And some people live this as a daily experience. But here again, the justice that we crave, we not only wait for, but we also work toward, knowing that God is watching, and He does not forget His children. And as Dr. King so famously said, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. But let's remember one final thing here. God's justice is restorative. It doesn't aim mainly at pounding the guilty and giving them what for. God's justice restores communities and relationships. And so our deepest hope is that those who have wronged us and those we have wronged will come together in love and communion once again, with all the fear and bitterness taken out of our hearts. Well, I'm kind of running out of time here. We still have several Beatitudes to go. Jesus promises us that His presence with us in the view from below will change us over time. We will become merciful because God has drenched us in so much mercy. We will become pure in heart from being forgiven over and over again. We will become peacemakers because we live in the peace that the world cannot give. And when we do all these things, we will also, He warns us, become so scary to the world around us that they won't know what to do with us. And they might even try to stamp us out. And even then,